Yo, what's good guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are finally back with the Champions League Matchday 3 Day 1 predictions. So I'm pretty excited that this competition is back, and so let's get straight into it and speak about the matches. Now, number 1, the first game we have is Monaco versus Sverna Svedza. This could be potentially a pretty decent game, so let's get started with Monaco. They're looking very good this year, sitting first place in the league. On in Matchday 1, they managed a huge win against Barcelona 2-1. And Matchday 2, they drew to Dynamo Zagreb as well. And Balogun is a player who was tearing it up last year. This team with their quality is actually looking quite dangerous. So I could see them going probably in the top half of the table, and I personally think they could qualify as well. On to Sverna Svedza, struggling so far in this year's Champions League, have lost both of their games so far in the competition. A 2-1 loss to Benfica and a 4-0 loss to Inter. Now, don't get me wrong, they are a decent side, but all that matters in these league stages, I think, are the results. And only 1 goal scored so far in the campaign for them. And my prediction is going to be a 3-1 win for Monaco. Moving on to AC Milan versus Club Brugge. I see this game being a good one, so let's get started with AC Milan. Struggling quite a bit so far in the Champions League. In their first match, they actually lost 3-1 to Liverpool. Then in Matchday 2, they lost to Leverkusen 1-0. So we gotta feel bad for them as they have faced some top teams so far. Rafael Leao has been one of their key players. It's crazy how he is 6'2" and he glides past players like incredibly well. And on to Club Brugge, they're doing not too bad this season. Matchday 1, they lost their first game 3-0 to Dortmund, and Matchday 2, they managed to beat Sturm Graz 1-0. And in the past, Club Brugge have been a underrated team, but they have lost a lot of players that were playing for them a few years ago. So let's see how they do in this campaign. My prediction is gonna be a 3-1 win for AC Milan. Moving on to Arsenal versus Shakhtar Donetsk. This should be quite a good game, so let's get started with Arsenal. They are doing very good so far. Started Matchday 1 with a 0-0 draw against Atalanta. They faced the Europa League champions from last season. Then in Matchday 2, we had faced PSG, a tougher opponent. They did very well and secured themselves a 2-0 win against PSG. Saka and Havertz getting on the score sheet. 2 players in some very good form this season. So let's get into Shakhtar Donetsk, looking not too bad this season. In Matchday 1, they had to face Bologna and they drew 0-0. Then in Matchday 2, they lost to Atalanta 3-0. And a standout player we gotta keep an eye out for is Surikov. Very talented player. A lot of clubs are keeping an eye on him, and they're looking to make a move on him. Now, my prediction is gonna be a 3-0 win for Arsenal. Moving on to Juventus versus Stuttgart. Incredibly good game coming up here, so let's get started with Juventus. They're looking really good this season, playing some incredible football. Probably some of the best football we've seen them play within the past few years. At Matchday 1, they did very well, winning 3-1 against PSV. Then in Matchday 2, they managed to beat Leipzig 3-2, and Leipzig are a very good team, so that is a solid result. And Nico Gonzalez, I believe that is a player that caught my eye when watching Juventus. On to Stuttgart, they seem to be struggling quite a bit, playing some not bad football though. Matchday 1, they played Real Madrid and they lost 3-1. Although they could have won that match, to be fair, Madrid are genuinely inevitable though. They just could pull off a result out of any circumstance. And Matchday 2, they managed to draw 1-1 to Sparta Praha, and I believe if they play like they did against Real Madrid, they could get some wins. And my prediction is gonna be a 2-1 win for Juventus. Moving on to Sturm Graz versus Sporting. In my opinion, I think Sporting have a slight edge here, so let's get started with Sturm Graz. They have been struggling so far this season. They actually faced Brest in their first Matchday, who were in very good form and still are in very good form. Sturm Graz did lose that match 2-1. It was a fairly tight one, I would say, and Matchday 2 was another loss for them, unfortunately. They lost to Club Brugge, who are, as I said before, a weaker side compared to the past years. And based on stats, it seems like they're having or averaging 1 to 2 shots every game in the Champions League. That is not enough. Definitely need to shoot more on target if you want to get goals. And on to Sporting, they're looking quite good this year, playing some decent football as well. Underrated team, I would say. And Matchday 1, they got a huge win against Lille, 2-0. Then in Matchday 2, they played PSV where they drew 1-1. And we gotta talk about Gyökeres, one of the most informed strikers in the world right now. And I think we gotta keep an eye on Sporting in the Champions League. But my prediction is gonna be a 2-0 win for Sporting. Moving on to Real Madrid versus Dortmund, the best game in my opinion this match day. So let's get started with Real Madrid. Obviously, we all know they are the reigning champions from last season. They're looking not too bad this season, as in match day 1 they were struggling a bit against Stuttgart, but they managed to win that game 3-1. And then a surprise game in match day 2 where they lost 1-0 to Lille. Out of nowhere, Jonathan David got a penalty and he secured them the win. And I have a feeling something could happen in this game as well against Dortmund. And on to Dortmund, the runners-up from last season, did very well last season, starting their campaign very well this season, looking possibly even better than last year. And they signed Guirassy as their new striker, and he started very well. And match day 1 they actually started it strong by winning 3-0 against Club Brugge, and in match day 2 they became even stronger, which is crazy. They won against Celtic 7-1, absolutely thrashed them. In my opinion, this game's gonna end 2-2 as a draw. Now moving on to PSG versus PSV. This could potentially be a very good match. So let's get started with PSV. They have started the season not too bad. Match day 1 they got a win against Girona 1-0. They started on a positive note with that win. In match day 2 they faced Arsenal, which is a huge one, and Arsenal managed to get the better of them and win 2-0. But PSG have a lot of huge players, but they did not show up. On to PSV. PSV have not had the best start to this season so far. They still got time to turn it around, and in a match day 1 they faced a very good Juventus team and they actually lost 3-1. Then in match day 2 they drew to Sporting 1-1, and this match is going to be a struggle for them in my opinion, but they have a player in Lozano who's doing quite well in the Eredivisie, and a very good winger in Bakayoko, which many people have kept their eye on. And my prediction is going to be a 3-1 win for PSG. Moving on to Girona versus Slovan Bratislava. This game should be a interesting one, so let's get started with Girona. Girona so far are struggling this season. In their first match they lost 1-0 to PSG. Then in match day 2 they had a pretty crazy game. They played against Feyenoord and they lost 3-2. They have a very solid player in Tsigankov. He is a absolute baller, but they did lose their star striker in Dovbyk to Roma. Now onto Slovan Bratislava. They're struggling hard in this campaign. They have 2 quite hefty losses so far, and in match day 1 they played Celtic and they lost 5-1. And then match day 2 they played one of the best teams in the world, in Man City, and they ended up losing 4-0. Honestly, it should have been even more in that game as well, because Man City just kept hitting the woodwork, and it's going to be a struggle for them in this match as well. So my prediction is a 2-1 win for Girona. Now the last and final game is Aston Villa versus Bologna. It's going to be such a good game, so let's get started with Aston Villa. They're looking very good in this campaign. First match day they got a pretty solid win against the Young Boys. And match day 2 was a huge win for Aston Villa. They managed to get a great win against Bayern 1-0. Then John Duran once again off the bench. What a player this guy is. He scored, I believe, in 7 consecutive games coming off the bench. He chipped Neuer from around 40 yards out, so slightly, that is a absolutely unreal goal. Onto Bologna did very well in the Serie A last season. This season they have lost some players like Xerxes and Calafiori, also lost their coach Diogo Motta to Juventus, so it's gonna be a rough start to the campaign for them. In matchday 1 they lost to Liverpool 2-0, and in matchday 2 they drew to Shakhtar Donetsk 0-0, and I am interested to see how they do in this competition overall. Now my prediction is gonna be a 3-1 win for Aston Villa. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to drop a like, comment down below all your predictions for these games. I will make sure to check them out, and don't forget to subscribe if you do enjoy this content so you don't miss out on any other videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.